Hangster.
Hey, Ali.
Sorry, Henry. Nice to have you here on my podcast. And before we start, I think we should cheers.
Let's do that.
Some nice
Cheers.
single malt. Cheers
Thanks
to you.
for having me.
Yeah, thanks
for the whiskey.
coming. Indopods. So that's my little podcast here in Bandung. Indonesia podcasts. So I thought the name Indopods is appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hank, that's what we call you here, right? Hank?
Yeah.
Henry. You're not really from Bandung, right?
No, I am Swiss-Indonesian. So my father is Swiss, my mom is Indonesian, but she is from Kalimantan originally.
Were you born here or?
Yeah, I was born here. I was
Okay.
born here in Bandung.
Uh-huh.
And then when I guess I was around 2 years old, we moved to Switzerland.
Ah.
And then around the age of 6, I think, we moved back to Indonesia.
What languages did your parents talk?
Well, at home we speak English together because my father's Indonesian isn't entirely fluent,
Yeah.
and my mother's German or Swiss German is kind of non-existent.
But
So
you
at
do
home-
speak Swiss.
Yeah, but not that great.
Not that
I
great?
only had a few years of schooling in German,
Okay.
in Swiss German, and I grew up most of my life here in
Okay.
English at home, in an English-speaking
So,
school.
so when did you return here to Bandung? How old?
I think I was around 6.
6 years.
But we went back and forth for a while. Between the
Alright.
age of 6 and 8, we were going back and forth a little bit.
And that was
then
related
8
to your
primarily.
parents' business over here, right?
Yeah. As they were setting up their business here, we
Yeah.
moved here while things were being set up. Went back to Switzerland,
Hmm.
took care of everything there, and then moved back here.
So you're like a global child. One of those.
Yeah.
Globalists.
Yeah. What I guess some sociologists refer to as a third culture kid.
That is actually a term, right?
Yeah, that is an actual term for a child that's grown up in a culture that is different from both their parents.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I guess you could argue is every child.
Yeah, of course, in a sense. Yeah. Your main language is English,
Yeah.
and Swiss German second or third,
Yeah, second, and then Indonesian and French.
French as well, but
Yeah.
no High German.
No. Well, I can if you get me. Maybe
You
drunk
understand
enough.
it, right?
Yeah. I think we've had one conversation in High
But
German.
like when you speak to me in Swiss German,
Yeah. But when you and Florian and Robin are all talking
Yeah.
German together. And
yeah, and I
with
guess
my
it's
brother
just
too.
it's just a matter of how much you have.
Yeah, exactly. And how much practice I've had.
Yeah. So I mean, culturally, do you consider yourself Indonesian or Swiss or European? Do you think you have a Western mindset or?
I think I have more of a Western mindset than anything else.
Does it also have to do with the schooling you received over here?
Yeah, it definitely has to do with the schooling. First here was an English international school, very much following the American curriculum. And then afterwards living in Canada for my bachelor's degree.
Okay, so you
5
studied
years.
in Canada.
Yeah, was here until the age of 18, and then moved to Canada.
Toronto or
Montreal.
Montreal?
Yeah.
Were you able to use or apply your French over there?
Yeah, a little bit, but not really, because I realized that when you learn French and then live in a French-speaking country, that's two completely different things.
Yeah.
And I went to an English language university,
Okay.
so everything was in English there.
Yeah. So what did you study then?
Well, I started in philosophy, but I mainly did that because I didn't know what to study.
Okay. Well, that's what philosophy is there for. I guess.
Yeah, and then in my first year, I decided to take classes in anything that sounded interesting, from geology to cinema.
Cinema.
Yeah, and so I ended up with a degree in sociology, actually, which
Okay.
was my most interesting class. So I decided to pursue sociology, also because it's a bit open-ended,
Yeah.
and then with a minor in cinema.
But
in
did
film studies.
you ever intend to take it into some sort of corporate career or something?
At the time, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I just knew that sociology really interested me, and then I could do a master's, and it's pretty much open what I could do a master's in.
And did you follow up?
Yeah, and then I finished my bachelor studies, took a break for a few years, traveling, worked, and then I did my master's in Copenhagen, at the University of Copenhagen, in Denmark. Yeah.
So did you learn any Danish?
No, hardly any.
Okay.
It's such a weird and
Because that was
language to learn.
so that was an entire English course as well.
Yeah, that was also completely in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what's the most outstanding experience or like takeaway from Denmark? Because it's a slightly different culture, northern
Yeah.
culture.
In a way, I felt that Denmark suited me the best.
Oh.
Like at least politically, because it's a socialist country.
Yeah.
And they really, they have like a strong welfare system. They take care of their citizens. They care about the environment. They're very green and friendly there. But somehow the mentality, after a while, started annoying me.
So what is that?
How they're a little bit closed off.
Okay.
And a little
But isn't
bit,
that a northern thing?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's what
Swedish-
they're known for
Yeah.
being very closed off. It's
Yeah.
it's
A bit
very
cold.
difficult
Yeah.
for people to make friends in
Yeah, yeah,
Denmark.
yeah.
They say.
Ah.
In my first semester, I remember I was asked to give like some sort of seminar on how to socialize in Denmark because
really?
I made friends really quickly. I made
Okay.
friends with a lot of Danish people really, really quickly.
So someone thought, this guy should show us, should tell us, should teach us.
Yeah, so like this student union over there asked me to host this event for international students.
And what was the
'Cause it's-
secret ingredient, like the silver bullet? Was it the
like,
booze?
It was the booze. It was totally the booze. I mean, I invited two of my really good Danish friends and this American girl. We became like this little clique very quickly.
Yeah.
And I invited them to also like participate in the talk and talk about how we became friends. And basically it was like, yeah, you need to have this somehow weird moment
Yeah.
where we all decide to be friends, which is usually based on booze and doing something stupid together.
Ah. So how were you received? Like, I mean, you're obviously like your Indonesian background and all that. How was that received? Was there any problem, or did you experience some sort of odd moments?
More in Canada than anywhere else.
Interesting.
There was I remember this Canadian girl from some small town in Canada who just had never heard of Indonesia and didn't know anything. And she would ask me questions like, hey, do you have like the internet over there? I was like, how do you think I apply to this university? And they're like, do you have like roads and cars in Indonesia? I was like, no, we swing on a vine from tree to tree. Like, what do you, like, nothing. She became a good friend in the end. And, she was just
well,
like,
at least
asking honestly.
I mean, it's a sort of naive curiosity. I wouldn't call it ignorance, because ignorance is the opposite. Ignorance is like, oh, you do live in the mud, and that's it. That's kind of like how I see you. You're like a third world shithole person, so you must be living in a.
No, this was just curiosity, but from a place where they've never even heard of.
Ah, okay. And then like, so every time you kind of change location, like going from Indonesia to Canada to Copenhagen, so that transition, how did that feel? Like how was that?
It was pretty easy for me. I mean, going to an international school here in Bandung.
Oh yeah, so you were
where
already
everybody is from all over the world, really. And they also really stressed the fact that we are an international school. You had to learn about all the different religions, and you had to learn about all the different cultures and world history, not just American history or European history. You had to learn everything. So that made it really comfortable for me to move around. And I was never very anxious or got really homesick anywhere, anytime.
So I mean, you sort of grew up in this environment where you were exposed to different colors all the time, more or less, right? Different flavors and different environments. For me, just to kind of like add a little bit of my juice to this whole thing, I grew up in a very kind of monotheistic environment where like almost kind of like there was no external influence, right? Everything was sort of small town mindset, simple but straightforward life, And then when I exposed myself to this crazy outside world, the colorful world, that was something that I will never forget. I mean, it really transformed me, right? So
was that from travel or from?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like leaving the pond, sort of. It was kind of like
Was that from going abroad or just
Yeah.
going to like a city like Berlin where it's a little bit more
I mean, initially it was
multicultural?
literally going to the next biggest town, which
Yeah.
wasn't even Berlin, which was like a small town of like 100,000 inhabitants,
Yeah.
and then going from there going to Berlin. That was every time it was like level up, and it was just super exciting, you know. And then eventually living in London, but then you also receive the other side, you know. Eventually London became boring, or
Yeah.
I don't know, annoying.
Yeah.
And when I came here to Indonesia, that was just mind-blowing because I never really experienced life in such an environment, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of unique over here. It's islands, right?
Yeah.
And in a sense, it's a bit like England or Great Britain as well, because it's also an island. So I see certain similarities between the UK and Indonesia when I compare it to the rest of Asia, like Thailand or
Yeah.
Malaysia. This is more like a so I see. I mean, this is maybe it's very subjective. It's very kind of gut based, right?
Yeah. Based on
So-
your own experience
yeah,
there.
of course, and it may not be true. Every scientist may say, yeah, bollocks, you know. But
Yeah.
in my feeling, I can see a difference between like the continental and the island mindset.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any research or science behind that, but this is kind of like what I felt. Whereas you, I mean, you went from place to place and you experienced it all from ground up, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I've kind of felt there is definitely a difference, like between, of course, Indonesia and elsewhere. There's a
Yeah.
certain like wildness here that I missed when I was in Denmark, especially.
Yeah.
Because there everything is so, you know, the whole Danish aesthetic, you know,
Yeah.
minimalism.
Yeah. Clean.
and
Everything's clean and perfect.
Yeah, you know, you go to
Yeah.
anybody's apartment, anybody's house.
like the entire
there,
country
it's
is
just
like IKEA.
It's white and black and gray.
Yeah.
And I initially felt a little bit, I don't like stood out because I had a bright blue jacket instead of like a nice gray or
Oh,
black
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
That made me a little bit self-conscious. I was like, oh, I'm not fitting in. I'm stand out too much.
Yeah, it's true. Like colorful clothing is also something that you tend to see more outside these colder countries. Right?
Yeah.
So
And-
I think weather has an influence on or temperature, right?
Yeah, weather and just general mindset and, you know, hundreds of years of Protestant evolution.
But now you rooted yourself over here.
Yeah.
Why not in a perfect country like Denmark, or in a cool outback like Australia or Canada?
I don't know. It was like something called me back somehow to kind of come back.
It was not
here.
your parents, yeah?
No, it was them. They've been asking for years and years and years for me to move back home, but I always refused. You know, like I wanted to see the world and live elsewhere, because growing up here, I just felt like, oh, Indonesia is just so far away from everything. It's far away from the music, the movies, the culture, the world, and I wanted to be closer to all of that. Like that's all this action you see on TV and that you read about. And then, I mean, they stopped bothering me about it, but somehow something called me back. And then I wasn't really doing much there at the time in Denmark. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back to Indonesia for a few months. And for 3 months and just check it out, see how I feel.
That's when we met first, right?
Yeah.
When was that? 15, 14?
2015.
15. Yeah.
15, so I came back for a few months. But within the first month, I already knew I wanted to move back here. So I went back to Denmark, packed all my stuff,
You
moved
came
back
back,
here in 2016.
Yeah.
After, I guess, 17 years abroad almost.
The calling, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the same feeling. I came here to Bandung 2010, and then I felt like every time I went back to Europe, to London or Berlin, it was just miserable. Right?
Yeah.
Especially during autumn or winter, you know, I felt, this is like short days and cold and miserable faces and high cost of living.
But you don't feel the calling to go back to Germany? That calling?
Nah.
Either?
I mean, last year during the first wave, the pandemic, I was there for 5 months. And I felt a little bit excited to go back. And then I stayed there for 5 months with my daughter.
Yeah.
And then it was nice. It was comfortable. It was good. It was safe and all that. But
You have everything you need, everything you want. You
but
don't
it
have to
was
worry
also
much.
bland.
That's exactly like what I felt as well when I said there was a lack of like wildness, a lack of unpredictability.
Yeah.
You know, everything's just almost perfect. Like it's just
It's
there
it's kind
for
of
you.
like it's kind of like a human predicament, right? On the one hand, we want safety and we
Yeah.
don't want to be annoyed by annoying things, but on the other hand, we need the sort of kind of friction.
Yeah.
We need this
The unpredictability of every day.
Yeah, we need the unpredictability, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because ultimately it's hardwired into us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back into our evolution, like no day was the same. I mean, but at the same time, we humans tried to kind of build systems and routines in order to make life, to increase our chances to survive,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of ability or skill, I don't know what it is, or the skills that we accumulated in order to make our life like a squared box, also puts us now in a situation where we are getting bored and start doing silly things like believing funny ideas, because like it's more interesting to kind of chase rabbits down rabbit holes
Then
than
you
just
go down
sitting
a
at
YouTube
home and
rabbit hole
and
all
being
winter
agreeable
long.
to everything like everyone says, right? So I think this is like one of the major issues we have nowadays, that like the internet is kind of giving us the illusion of the adventure now again.
Yeah.
And people kind of fall into it and they think, oh yeah, this is like, I know something that no one else knows. You know?
Yeah.
But
I'm in on the secrets.
yeah,
but no one else
right,
knows.
yeah. But then the real secrets or the real adventure, really, in my opinion, you only get when you throw yourself into the jungle, literally, right?
Yeah. When you leave your safety net, when you go have an adventure.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I wouldn't call it adrenaline, but more like adventure, right? So
Yeah.
because it's still an adventure. I mean, Indonesia is annoying in many regards. Like, what would
Yeah.
you find annoying over here?
I mean, pollution.
Yeah.
Pollution is the biggest annoyance. Pollution and traffic and sort of short-minded solutions to everything.
Yeah.
Like I can't deal with those things. I find them very frustrating. But at the same time, there's a sort of freedom and liberty
Yeah.
in life here,
Yeah.
and just the attitude towards it that I started to miss, especially in Denmark. I think once my studies ended, and then, where I was like unemployed, and all my friends were unemployed,
Yeah.
but all they wanted to do was just stay home and go
Yeah.
out, or
Yeah.
just go to the same bars, do the same thing
Yeah.
over and over again. And in the wintertime, I was like, let's hang out, guys. And they're like, no, it's cold, and you're like 15 minutes away. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, come on, 15
Yeah.
minutes, get on your bike.
And that was in your
Go.
20s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
imagine
early
how it's
30s.
now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in the early 30s, late 20s. And I just thought, I was like, I don't like this attitude.
Yeah.
Something I just felt that in people, as soon as the studies was over, there was like some sort of switch in their mind. Oh, it's
Yeah.
like, now it's time to like stop playing around,
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
student. Now I gotta be serious.
Be serious, yeah. And
Everything.
Friday night going out, are you crazy? Maybe
Yeah.
one beer, but then I go home, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same thing for me. Like in Berlin is a party town, right?
Yeah.
And now when I go back there now in my 40s and I ask my friends out, maybe once a month I can get someone to come out of their comfy couch, you know, and
Yeah.
go to a place and drink some beer or whiskey. But it's nothing like in the 20s when we would go out like 10 at night, and then one at night we would go to the first club, and 4 at night we go to the second club, and then maybe just go straight to the after party next
Yeah.
day without sleeping.
And
skipping.
suddenly you're rolling down a hill in a abandoned shopping cart at 6 a.m.
Yeah, but then
And
as a 40-year-old or 35-year-old, you can't really do that.
no,
either,
that
right?
doesn't really appeal to me right
No,
now
no.
either.
Not at all. Yeah,
Do that anymore.
yeah.
But
So what do you?
I got really like, tired. Maybe it was also just of being unemployed and not really doing anything, just doing like internships and project to project. But I just kind of like felt sick of being stuck in Copenhagen, in that city. So then I did the Sankta Jakobsweg, the
Oh, yeah.
Camino. So
Okay.
I decided to do the Camino because like I needed to do something interesting.
How was that?
That was amazing. That was one of the best things I've ever done.
How many kilometers is that?
889, I believe. Kilometers.
And you walked it.
I walked it. Yeah, 34.
How many
days.
shoes?
Just one pair of shoes.
Oh, one pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Wow.
One pair of shoes, one pair of sandals.
But
two
it-
pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks.
But it
2
does
shirts.
leave scars or injuries, right?
Yeah.
Knees
I had
or-
tendonitis in my knees
Oh,
for the
really?
longest time. But
Okay.
I just do my stretches every day.
Ah, okay.
And I'm fine.
And then along the way, did you meet like-minded folks?
Yeah. I mean, I met, the very first day there, I met this Texan oil tycoon who was about to retire and didn't know what to do with the rest of his life.
Wow.
And this young 24-year-old girl from France that had already walked 700 kilometers to get to my starting point.
All right.
So it was kind of all these people having some sort of moment in life where they need to.
Do you think some of these
do
folks
things.
just go there to kind of mingle or to meet other
Maybe.
characters? Because you more likely tend to see characters on these kind of
Yeah. I mean,
journeys,
Yeah,
right?
a special type of person is attracted to
yeah,
these
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
things. To just go walking for 34 days.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
Not anybody just wants to do that.
I guess that's what kind of it's a sort of recurring theme that I notice or observe amongst like international or kind of global folks. They kind of try to find characters rather than just.
Yeah.
I mean, not necessarily like-minded folks, but like character, like special.
And try to find
specialties.
experiences.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, and it's obviously more interesting to speak to an oil tycoon, regardless of the mess he left in the environment, right? than
But just,
speaking to like a normal employee or maybe even a teacher, right?
And there when you're walking, everyone's just in their walking gear. There's no difference between one person and the other.
Yeah.
Then you all just end up hanging out. And I ended up with this group of maybe 8 people that were just walking together every day, whether we meant to or not. That's how we started walking together every day.
So how many kilometers could you kill a day?
Really depends on the day. Something I really sort of learned on the way was that, like, just to go with my gut, I had everything planned out in the beginning. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to stop here, like a daily plan. But I think after 10 days, I just got rid of that plan. It's like, whatever feels good. You know, like one time we ended up in this town. We're like, we like it here. Let's stay here for 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
Let's just chill out for a bit. And
It's sort of
sometimes you
like-
end up where you think you want to end up. You're like, I don't get a good vibe from here. Let's just keep walking. And then
So you
for
discover
another
the
10
flow.
Ks.
So you get.
Yeah.
So you go with the flow. And
Yeah, totally.
Like yeah. It's kind of like finding to yourself, right? It's a journey
is.
also into you rather than.
Yeah, totally. They say, and which I found quite accurate, there's 3 parts of the pilgrimage. Was that the first part is like a physical test, because it's a lot of hills, and you're hurting all the time. You're in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
In your knees and ankles. And then the middle bit, they say, is more of a mental test, because you get up on this almost this plateau really high up in the mountains called the meseta, and then it's just flat. There's like no trees, no mountains. It's just flat for
And
10
hot.
days and hot. And it's just like, then that's when you get into your mind and start like going into your life and looking back at the pornography of your life, in a sense. And then you get past that, and then the last part you just enjoy. You just like, you free you're fit. It's not a physical test anymore, because you're pretty fit by that point. You've already gone through whatever mental issues you have, and you can just like enjoy the nature,
it's kind of
enjoy
like
the company of your friends.
It's kind of like a real life's hero's journey
Yeah.
in a sense,
Yeah,
right?
it totally is. Yeah.
Because you
In the end, it is yourself that you are actually
exactly.
struggling with,
So you
confronting.
you return and you have something else. You kind of learned or gained something from that journey.
I was probably around then I thought, I'll head back to Indonesia and everything. I don't think I can stay in Copenhagen much longer.
So yeah, I mean, what keeps you sane over here right now? What are you doing here in Bandung now?
Well, now I have Tambuhak,
Tambuhak,
the beer garden.
explain Tambuhak.
So Tambuhak is I guess beer garden. We
Yeah.
call it a food and beverage garden.
Yeah.
But it's basically a beer garden with lots of little food stalls. So it's
Yeah.
like a food court and
Yeah.
beer garden.
So with different types of food. Or,
Yeah, with food from around the world. We have the taco stand, the burger joint.
Was that always a dream?
Afghan. It's hard to say if it was always a dream. It's
More
a
like a
dream in
vision?
the sense, when you're young with your friends, you're like, oh, let's own a bar one
Yeah,
day. Let's do this and do that. But you never really do it.
Yeah.
But then, when I did come back here that first time, my brother Anga, he had this idea.
Anga is your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had this idea of opening one, and we just started brainstorming. And, he also wanted to use like, what you call it again? Just like used industrial products. We got the old pallets, the drums, and everything. And then I was sort of looked back at some of my favorite places around Europe that were kind of like this. I was like, let's open this up.
Yeah.
Let's start a
Yeah.
business.
No, I mean the appeal. I've been to your place many times, and I really like it. I like the kind of minimalist sort of approach, while the food is good, and you have your friends there, and you have a very young sort of, not too like student audience.
Yeah.
So, and that obviously kind of makes the vibe, right? That's kind of like what gives you the Tambuhak feels. But what does Tambuhak mean?
So Tambuhak is an ancient Dayak. Dayak is the culture, ethnicity, and language of Kalimantan.
Yeah.
So it's this ancient word that's sort of kind of forgotten now, but my mom remembered it, and it sort of means overflow, like an overflow of good times, an overflow, but also like a well, like a spring.
Oh, right, okay.
Like an overflow of fortune, wealth, but
Yeah.
also good times.
Okay.
And then you can also translate it to like an overflow of water or booze or alcohol.
Do you have any connection to the Dayak people?
Small. We never spent much time there as a kid, but maybe I go like once a year, or
Okay.
or once every 2 years. You don't go there that often.
Sorry.
It's insanely hot
Yeah.
over there.
Was it? So that was Kalimantan, you said?
Yeah.
And do you know anything else about Kalimantan? It's like an island. In
Yeah, I mean, it is
the second or
the
first?
biggest island in
Is it?
Indonesia.
No, I thought
in the world.
Sulawesi. Was it Sulawesi?
No, I think Kalimantan's big. Well, Kalimantan is the Indonesian part of Borneo.
Oh yeah.
All right,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
the island of Borneo with Brunei and the Malaysian part is
Yeah.
one of the biggest islands in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah,
If not the second biggest island.
Yeah. You been there?
Yeah, I've been there quite a few times. Done some really great trips. You know, like riverboat tours where you stay in a boat for like
Is the
5
feeling,
days.
Is the feeling similar to Java or to Bali or Lombok?
No, it's
Or very
completely,
different?
very, very completely different. It's, I mean, when I went there as a kid to get to my grandma's village, there was no road. We had to take like a speedboat or some sort of boat to get there along the river for like 4 hours
Wow.
from the next town
Wow.
over. But now it's, totally built up. There's highways
Okay.
and bridges.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of infrastructure, especially with the capital, plans to move the capital of Indonesia.
So
There.
the government is planning to move the
Yeah.
capital to Borneo.
Yeah. But already, like, I guess 20 years ago, they started investing because there's a lot of mining and palm oil industry.
Yeah.
going
I mean,
on
that's
there.
one of the interesting aspects that fascinated and still fascinates me about Indonesia is the kind of pace of development over here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a coin with two sides, right? I mean, on a positive side, you see things moving forward really rapidly. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to Europe, where any progress is just incremental, right?
Yeah.
Or they would just add more shopping malls or
Yeah.
industrial space to
Yeah.
existing.
And there's
industries.
maybe they plan things a little bit more in Europe. They're
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
okay,
on the
this-
planning side, this is a completely different level over
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is here is more like based on speed, so
Yeah.
less accuracy, and so you do get funny things over here, like an airport they built in mid Java
Yeah.
or West Java that is now obsolete, or what
Well,
happened?
Majalengka Airport, I have no idea.
So right
Well,
now, I've heard it is a
I mean, it is.
it's a cargo airport now, but
yeah?
they tried to turn it into an international hub.
Yeah,
And it
because they
completely
like
bombed.
the West Java hub.
Yeah.
But like Bandung being the biggest city in West Java,
But there was no connection.
We had an airport here in the city, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden they just moved
Bandung
to
actually
like 2-3 hours
that's
away.
That's
Like,
an interesting point. Bandung is one of the last cities in the world. There's only a handful left
Yeah,
where you can actually land in the city, like
yeah.
dead center.
Okay, like Hong Kong or
Yeah.
Taipei, I think they.
Oh no, Hong Kong. Well, they moved it out, right?
Oh, they moved. Oh, yeah, that's true. True,
That's
true.
that's
yeah.
already like 20 years ago. But
Yeah,
now
true.
in Bandung, when you approach Bandung, right, you fly over all these not skyscrapers, but like high rises.
Yeah, you just see them left and right out of your
yeah,
window.
right. And
Yeah,
it's like every time I land in Bandung, it's exciting. Like you see like the buildings coming closer and closer, and then in the end you fly over a graveyard, right?
Yeah.
And you can see actually the gravestones. It's super close, and you think, oh, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? Yeah, this is kind of cool. I mean, but obviously it's not really sustainable, right? If you think
No,
about
especially because the Bandung airport is shared with the military.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
sometimes flights will get delayed because
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
military's turn to use the
Yeah.
airspace.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, Tambuhak is like your main business. Do you do anything else,
Yeah.
or is it just that?
I do a bit of freelance writing on the side.
Oh, writing.
Yeah.
And the ambassador thing you mentioned before?
That was when I first arrived here, but since the pandemic, I haven't really done that
Okay, yeah.
anymore.
So all this is on hold right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that job was just like a fun little gig representing Jose Cuervo tequila at various events around Indonesia.
Yeah.
And just basically drinking.
Drinking for free.
Yeah.
and getting paid for it.
And getting paid for it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a dream job.
Yeah, but I don't know how sustainable such a job would be, like physically.
So, I mean, Indonesia is sort of a wild place
Yeah.
where, like, what is the craziest thing you've experienced over here? Like something that couldn't happen to you in Europe?
Craziest thing. That's an interesting question. I mean, there's like lots of crazy things, like when you don't really think about it. They're crazy.
I mean, in compared to your daily European sort of experience, right? Like the things that we experience here would be considered crazy over there, right? But we don't see it anymore that way. We've become so numb to it.
yeah, I mean,
like-
there's lots of little things, but I think like there was one night that really encapsulates what it's like to live here and the sort of all the different elements about living in Indonesia was when I was working for Jose Cuervo. And so we had this event in Jakarta that lasts like 3-4 days. It's this big like expo, like, you know, it's like happens once a year.
Yeah.
And all the alcohol brands and food brands and everything from around the world are there. And then at the end, there's always like an after party.
Yeah.
So my boss, he's like, all right, after the last day of work, we stop drinking at like 6, 7, have some dinner, rest up, and then we're going to go out and party, you know, with like also the other brand ambassadors and representatives from China, US, you know, Australia, all over the world. So they invite me to this club, and I was like, never heard of this club, whatever. I go there, you know, metal detector, everything. I was like, all right, fine, that's kind of normal, I guess. And then they're like, cover up your phone. I was like, what? And they put like stickers on the cameras, front and back. I was like, what kind of fucking club is this? Then I go in there. As soon as I go in, there's like a giant like stage full of stripper poles.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, what is this place? Then I see them like my guys from work over there, and then we hang out.
It's certainly not gymnastics.
No. And then literally just like a group of girls would come, strip for maybe 20 minutes, get off the stage, a new group of girls would come, and that was all night long.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, I've never seen this like part of Indonesian life. But
It's hidden though, right?
it's hidden.
Yeah.
But what I thought was really funny was that everybody treated it like this is just a background entertainment at a nightclub.
Yeah.
It was just a nightclub, and the strippers were just like, you know, whether you have dancers or a DJ or whatever. And then I heard like, you know, the second level are the karaoke rooms, and then there's like a third level with a swimming pool and bath.
There's a
like,
fourth level.
hot tub, and then, you know, hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Then I was like, well, this is wild. But I just kind of liked that everybody treated it like a club. You know, like it wasn't like, you know, when you go to a strip club in other countries. I don't know if you've been.
Yeah,
but
in
like,
England, yeah.
you know, it's like, it's so kind of gross.
Yeah.
It is gross. It is gross.
Yeah,
like, because there's all these like lecherous men just sitting there and
yeah.
staring at these women and giving them dollar bills. It's really gross. And then after that, I was like, yeah, we had like a really good time. And there's this American girl that represents, I forget now which brand of rum in China. And she's like, dude, this is nothing compared to the underground places in China. And like, they tell me about some of the other underground places in Jakarta. I'm like, oh shit, okay.
Oh, yeah.
This is just, you know, the tip of the iceberg.
But they're
then-
mostly military control, right?
Police, military,
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
connections. I mean, this place gets shut down every time there's a new head of police.
Okay.
And then it's open again
Yeah.
within a week, you know,
Yeah.
just showing up.
As soon as his pockets are filled, or as soon as he managed to get his hands into their
Yeah.
pockets, and then
You know, make
Yeah.
a big deal in the media. We're shutting down this crazy place. But then afterwards, we decided to go to another nightclub. And this is a much more normal nightclub, and it's kind of fittingly called Immigrant. And it was like literally, you know, like where these like Wall Street boys would go after work. They're still in their suits and they're still everything. So it's just, but like very old, rich men, foreign men,
Yeah.
and very young, like drugged up Indonesian girls. And I thought that was way more creepy.
Yeah.
I was so uncomfortable there. I thought that was way more creepy than being at that strip club.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is sort of the weird thing in Indonesia. Like how you have this like insanely wealthy place that's creepy, and then you have this, sexuality is so hidden here, but then you have the strip club with like hundreds of strippers, but no one gives a shit. I was like, Indonesia is just
talks.
so weird. Yeah.
Money talks.
Indonesia is just such a strange place. I realized that.
You can still see here in Bandung when you go to Braga.
Yeah.
You can sense how it must have been in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like the main strip, and they used to have a casino over there as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was shut down in 1998.
Like an underground casino.
It was suddenly like sort of open. It was not really like hidden.
Yeah.
But then I think it was all kind of related to the 2001, like 9/11, when the climate changed over here.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they shut it all down and made it all a little bit more, compatible with the main religion over here. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why. But Bandung was a place full of expats, right? It was
Yeah. Back then
industry,
there was a
textile.
lot of people, a lot of foreigners back then.
Yeah.
That were living here.
So I guess one of them was your father, right?
Yeah. My father and in my school, there used to be quite a few international schools here. We had the German international school.
There was a German one as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that closed down the late 90s, and then they all ended up going to my school.
Yeah. So the Asian crisis, 1998, sort of did a big sweep on many foreign-related things over here. Right?
Yeah. Before that, before the Asian economic crisis and what led to the downfall of Suharto,
Yeah.
there were a lot of foreigners. We had a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand working, geologists, working in energy here, because of the volcano and everything.
Would you think this is a good thing now that Indonesia is a bit more standing on its own feet?
Yeah, I guess so, but it's still such strange rules they have here for foreign investment. Like they do want to open up for foreign investment, like with the new omnibus laws, but at the same time, they've come up with all these rules that I feel like line the pockets of the
course.
higher ups.
Yeah.
The fact that no foreigner is allowed to own land here.
Yeah.
It has to be 51% owned by a local.
Yeah.
Like,
That's something.
and I get it. That's like, it's a measure to also try and protect Indonesia from foreign exploitation, which has happened a lot in the past. But at the same time, it does stop certain foreign investment, and at the same time, it also like gives control to a lot of corruptors.
Yeah, of course, and it hinders development in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a trade-off between how much are you able to control and how much influence do you, or like with influence or with money comes influence, right? So if you want to bring in investors, then you have to listen to their conditions, right? You have to kind of accept their way of conducting business or development, right? So you give away control over development to foreigners, and I guess Indonesia, because it was sort of burnt in 1998.
Yeah.
I think it closed down a little bit more after that.
Yeah.
And was more. I mean, everything was on the Sahara beforehand, right? And what do I know? What do we know, right? I mean, I didn't really look much into it, but the stories I've heard are sort of very insightful, in the sense that Indonesia was under heavy investment from outside up until '98.
Yeah.
And after that, it sort of changed. But then I think it was just replaced by different money. A lot of Saudi money went in.
Yeah.
To kind of like do the sort of cultural imperialism over here.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, money is money. And I guess a lot of these people who build up these mosques, they just think, yeah, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
If you want me to build a mosque, I'll just do it. Just pay me, So that's kind of like the sense I feel over here. It's not really that serious.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, corruption is such a accepted way of doing things here, such an accepted way of life. It's just natural.
Trust is very.
Of course, he would, skim off the top. Of course, who wouldn't skim off the top?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't the police ask for extra payment, protection money?
Trust is a big issue over here, right? You can. I mean, I run my business with my wife, right? So because I've discovered the hard way that your business partner should be the one carrying out your child.
Well, it's like, yeah, my parents too. It's the same
right.
thing,
Yeah, it's
they were
I mean,
business partners.
most successful stories are like are in this kind of constellation, right? Not all. I mean, there are not so successful ones over here that
Yeah.
we've heard of.
And when it doesn't work out, then
Yeah,
you're
but it's
royally
more
fucked.
like it's much more likely to fail if your business partner is not your spouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of backstabbing happening over here.
Yeah. It's a tricky place to do business.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as there's a lot of money involved,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
vultures just
Yeah,
show up at your
absolutely.
doorstep,
Yeah.
just wanting this, wanting that,
Yeah,
demanding this
yeah.
and that, pretending they're maybe
You
somebody
experienced
important.
that with your business, I guess.
With my business, not as much. I mean, a little bit, and
Mm.
it took me a while to get comfortable with it. I mean, but that's why I went into business with my brother, because he's already been here for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Already owns nightclubs and bars around the whole country.
Yeah.
So he kind of knows what to do, and he already has his contacts. And
I
he
will.
already
I will
has
certainly
the-
invite him to this podcast. As
Oh
well.
yeah.
He's got some interesting.
Here are some of his stories.
Yeah,
they're,
very interesting.
They're very crazy. You know. I'm sure right now he's in Palembang scouting for a potentially new place to open up. A new place over there, and I'm sure he'll come back with stories too.
Like Tambua concept. Or?
More Nine Square, more nightclub concept.
What is next for you? I mean, what is your next big thing? I mean, I've heard you want to move your.
Yeah, we have to move at the end of this year. Well, we don't really have to. We're choosing to because we don't really get along with our landlord.
Yeah.
So we're renting our property right now. And
Oh, so that's a cool point. Landlords
Yeah.
/ renting in Indonesia.
yeah, contracts don't mean shit.
Yeah, exactly. Contracts.
don't mean shit.
If you have one or not,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, they can just raise the price this year. He's like, you can either pay or we kick you out. Like, they have all the right. They
So,
can do whatever they want.
if you want to live in Indonesia, in many cases, if you want to live in a house or villa or apartment, you very often have to pay upfront a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for
monthly contracts are rare to almost none.
Yeah, and then they reserve the right to raise the price, kick
Yeah.
you out, do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause there's no like real rental rights.
Isn't
Rental
like
rights.
one of our friends who are not living here anymore? They rented a villa. They paid upfront for the entire year, and then after a month, the landlord rented it out again.
Really?
And kicked them out, but kept the money
like how,
with the help of military or police.
yeah.
So
it's-
they didn't have a choice.
In a sense, Indonesia's like still the Wild West.
Yeah.
You know, this sort of like lawless place where money
Yeah.
rules and influence rules.
Yeah, rule of law here is sort of different. It's not something that you can really rely on.
Yeah.
So what is more important is if you want to live here or build something up here, you want to build a network.
Yeah.
A
It's
network.
very important.
So your protection comes not from lawyers, but from networks.
Yeah.
So that's why in Indonesia you have mainly just not lawyers, but what's the other guy called?
What?
Notaries.
Judges? Notaries. Notaries are very important
Like
here, yeah.
Indonesia is the country with like most notarists
Yeah.
in the world. I feel like you drive through town and it's like left, right,
Yeah,
notaries,
and
notaries,
it's
notaries.
like, you know, like a lot of people study to be notarists here.
Yeah,
Like
right.
one of the girls I worked with at Jose Cuervo, this was just her side gig while she's finishing her education to be a notarist
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the future. And like in Europe, I've used a notarist I think once.
Yeah.
Ever. Here, I have to use it all the time.
Yeah, all the time because lawyers, and that's another interesting fact about Indonesia.
And they fuck you over too, notarists. We got fucked
Oh yeah,
over
yeah.
by ours.
Oh yeah, it happened to you.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, you know, when we did all the paperwork, you know, of course, you know, you need like the license to open a bar, license to build, the IMB, and then the alcohol license and everything. So we hired this notarist, and then the notarist was too busy. So she sort of outsourced this job to somebody else who faked everything.
Oh wow.
All the paperwork. And then we were wondering, it's like, why isn't our like license coming out, our alcohol license? Where
Yeah.
is it? Where is it? Where is it? And then we sent one of our contacts that has contacts in police and contacts in everywhere, and he researched in town hall and with the police, said, no, there was never an application received. It was all just fake.
Yep.
So then we went back, it's like, we're not going to sue you, we're not going to demand our money back, you just finish the job and you're going to do it for free. otherwise we will go to like the
Wow.
police or something. And then everything was done, you know, within a couple of months.
Yeah, that's interesting. One of the, like, if someone would ask me, describe the legal situation in Indonesia to me. Like, if someone from the UK or US would ask me,
Yeah.
my answer is, okay, very simple. Lawyers, policemen, and military do not get credit lines from banks
Yeah.
and judges.
Yeah.
They don't get credit lines.
Yeah.
So you
They don't
cannot they cannot build houses, so they have to borrow from friends or in other ways. you
Yeah.
know. And it's sort of a
They have to get creative and
and
do business, basically.
and do this, you know.
Yeah. It's basically people go into police and military to, you know, open up opportunities for business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
So it kind of
politics.
it's kind of a self-fulfilling corruption prophecy, right? So because these types of professions or folks are unable to obtain credit in a legal way, they have to kind of do
Yeah, it forces
dodgy-
them to go in these other ways.
But because they're doing dodgy backdoor or backroom business, the banks don't trust them anymore. So it's kind of like a stupid situation. It's a stalemate they can't break out from.
yeah, it's a paradox.
Yeah.
Really, for them. They're stuck in
Yeah.
that.
So, and there are a lot of these. So, like moving to Indonesia or conducting business over here, you're facing many of these bizarre rules or unwritten rules that you have to learn over time, right? I mean, I came here, and I was naive. I was so I thought I can like use my German or Western logic,
Their
like
work
this-
ethic and
Yeah,
your just
it does not work at all. Like you have to really adjust. You really have to understand culture and certain customs over here that are not really traditional. This is just how things have grown over the last 50 or 100 years, due to colonization, due to the way the West exploited. Because Indonesia was exploited. I mean, let's not be like idiotic about this. It is an exploited country, right?
Yeah.
And it's not only been the Dutch who did this. It's like the entire West has been into it, and it's still happening right now. America is like trying to get a hold of the entire gold mountain in Papua, and the Chinese as well. So it's kind of like this interesting. You have a few ties to the gold business, right?
I think my parents used to want to get into the gold mining business, but it's just
a nightmare.
impossible. I think they worked on it for more than 20-something years to try and get something going. But when I mentioned vultures showing up,
absolutely.
all of a sudden you have these like middlemen showing up, claiming to represent this and that, hoping for a cut. You have fake geologists coming over.
Of course.
being-
Well, I guess the main problem with gold business is gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's the promise of a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
And I've been out there before to look at the property and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you go out there and it is the Wild West.
Yeah.
You go like in this part of Kalimantan
Yeah.
and you see these like thousands of small operations, just like everyday dudes you would see on the side of the road here, but except they're just physically digging for gold,
Like-
sifting gold
like
in
El
the
Dorado
river.
style, like-
Yeah, you know, like
Yeah.
a taxi driver over there will be like, I can't get rid of this gold nugget. You know, I'll sell it to you for this much. Maybe you can like take it off me. There's this town by the
this
river.
is interesting. Like the
Yeah.
taxi driver would just offer it to you while you're like having a ride with him. Oh, I found this little, and I tell you where I found it or whatever. Yeah.
And there's this weird little town where it's right by the river, and the only purpose of this town is like this town got created because that's where people are digging for gold.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no crazy hotels, no nothing,
Yeah.
but you might in this little town meet this Uzbeki or Russian oligarch, like insanely wealthy, but staying in like the cheapest little thing, like checking the place out.
There was a movie with
Matthew McConaughey.
Matt.
Yeah.
He made a movie about this
Yeah,
in Indonesia, right?
Yeah, which is based on a true story.
Yeah.
Which is,
right.
which
And that's
is a wild
that stuff
story.
is still happening, right?
Yeah, that was in Kalimantan. That's in that
Oh, in
area that I'm talking about.
Oh wow, interesting.
That is over there.
Yeah, so you still have to deal with the tribes and the kind of rural folks.
Yeah, because there is also fairly good. I would say I support this sort of like law to protect ethnic communities and tribes and give them more ownership over their land.
Yeah.
So they actually don't give any more mining rights out right now in Indonesia. They stopped, I think, over 10 years ago,
Yeah.
giving you mining rights.
It's probably for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. This whole kind of when you just told me about the taxi driver, it just gave me a flashback. I think it was the second time I came to Indonesia, or maybe even the first or third. I don't know. Like in the very beginning, arriving in Jakarta airport and then queuing up for the visa. We still had to pay for back then.
Oh
right?
yeah, I remember those times.
And I see this big sign on top which says, "Don't try to bribe, no corruption, or you go to jail for like so and so many years, or you have to pay so and so much money," right? And I was like, I saw this, and I felt a bit intimidated because they had all these kind of government symbols and like icons next to it, and I was like, ooh, this is like serious, so I better not be naughty here, even though I didn't intend to be naughty. But as soon as it was my turn, the guy was like in front of me was like, okay, you can pay a little bit less if you pay just me here on the side.
Really?
Yeah, it happened like right under that sign, and I was like, no, it's okay.
Let's do it properly.
I just do it properly, and he was like, I was not very happy about it.
I also remember once I like, because I have my passport is Swiss, not Indonesian. So I remember once, doing the visa on arrival thing in Jakarta, and you got it at those times. You got it for 30 days, and you had to show your flight ticket out of Indonesia.
Yeah.
And it had to be in 30 days, within 30 days. But I was planning on staying for 3 months. And then I just completely forgot about this rule, and I called my mom on my way over to Indonesia, and this when I was still in Canada, and she was like, ugh, she was kind of pissed off at me for being so stupid, and then she just kind of was like, all right, I'll fix it. I got off the plane in Jakarta, and then I was in the airport, and then there was a guy who's like, are you Henry? And I'm like, yeah, and he's like, just follow me. And then he did it. He's like, your mom told me to give my my text message for mom. Some guy's meeting you at the airport. Give him 1 million rupiah. Like, gave him money. He just went from counter to counter in immigration and police from the money that I gave him, just like giving everybody just a little bit, just handing it out.
That's so funny. Yeah. I mean, this rule with the return ticket actually popped up after when they were like starting to transition to visa on arrival for free of charge.
Yeah.
And they kind of had to find new ways to make extra money, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly you had to go through these hoops and loops in order to kind of like get the visa, right? The visa on arrival. It's funny, so it's very interesting how lawmaking works over here, and I would say in 80% of the cases laws are introduced in order to create opportunities, right? For the governments, or for
and then the massive amount of bureaucracy is, it's like supposed to stop corruption, because there should be like checks and balances every step of the way. But
and what
you
it
just
does,
pay a guy and he'll just do the whole thing for you.
What it does, like, I mean, there are genuine efforts to kind of curb corruption over here, but what it actually achieves is that by tightening these rules, those in charge up to like ministerial positions, they're more concerned about that they're investing more time and energy and effort into finding ways to kind of circumvent these issues in order to still fill their pockets, which means in the end, corruption is the same. They're still filling the pockets with the same amounts of money as before, but their output of like their performance actually goes down.
Yeah, and
it's a weird conundrum.
Stop, the best, most educated workers or people from getting proper positions. Because I've also heard, for example, like just entry-level civil servants, doesn't really matter what your education or whatever is. You pay 60 million rupiah, you get the job. Yeah, you pay your way in. There was a brief period in Jakarta where ARC was in place, and you couldn't do this anymore. You really had to qualify and you had to pass tests. And then as soon as you got like kicked out, it went back to old business within 24 hours. Okay, so let's scrap that. This kind of proper work. I remember that because in high school, all my friends were getting driver's licenses. There was this one guy that everybody knew, 200,000. He'll give you a driver's license. He'll even change your age. So what? My friend, she was 13 years old with a driver's license that said she was 18. She was picking me up from school, smoking cigarettes. On a motorbike? No, in a car. How old was she? 13. 13? Driving around, 13 years old. Yeah, 13. Can you reach the pedals? Yeah. She was just there, smoking cigarettes, picking me up, taking me to school.
That is insane.
Her license said she was 18. This is also what we went to party and buy with. And then after then it stopped because I remember one of my German friends, he wanted to go and they're like, no, we don't do that anymore. Like, get the hell out of here, otherwise we arrest you.
Oh wow.
Like okay.
Yeah, this is a very interesting aspect. You know, you can like, I mean, this is what you would consider freedom when you grow up in the West and where things are really kind of regulated or limited in terms of what you can like how to conduct yourself within society. You know, like the rules,
for very
like,
good reasons. It's
right?
It's regulated.
Yeah, I mean, but then when you come here and it's not like that anymore. First, it disgusted me.
Yeah.
But then very soon I discovered also the sweetness.
Yeah.
There's a certain kind of like, oh yeah, why not? You know.
Yeah.
But obviously there are characters around that kind of push it to an extreme.
Yeah. It's of course the higher up you go, the more money is involved. The dirtier you have to get your hands.
Yeah.
Over there.
So one other topic I wanted to kind of touch with you on is the difference between women in the West and here in Indonesia or in Asia.
I want to get all the lewd details of my dating life.
Let's get into the like spicy bits here. So I mean, just on a more general note, like because I've had the same experience, right? I've had girlfriends in the West.
Yeah, and we have talked about it before.
So what do you think about, like, in terms of mentality, what the difference?
I think there's a very massive difference between dating, love life, and sex life between Europe and here.
Yeah.
And it's got to do that this is a more, I guess, traditional and conservative culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been thinking about it a lot actually lately because I was expecting this question. And then I was just thinking, like, I think it also has to do with education, like sexual education. Like you don't receive any sexual education in school here.
Yeah.
Just like basic biological education about sex and what is involved.
Yeah.
You don't receive that here. So people don't grow up here with a frank conversation about what is sexuality and how to express yourself safely and properly. Like, you don't really see guys and girls talking about it openly here, you know. You don't really see them dating. I'm sure they do date and everything, but it's all very hush-hush. Like, you're not allowed to do these things in the open. And in high school, you know, there were these, when the anti-pornography laws started, that included kissing. I remember we were pulled over one time because a cop saw my friends kissing in a car.
So you're not allowed to kiss in public in Indonesia?
I don't know if it's like that anymore. I just remember that one day, I think I was like 16 years old.
I mean, according to law, it's still the case.
But I don't think they really, like, you know, enforce that one.
They don't make out. I mean, when I'm
you
when I'm
rarely
in Berlin,
see it anyway.
In Berlin, you see them kissing on a train and a bus or whatever, right? And then over here, you would never see that.
Yeah, when I was in Paris, you know, people were rolling around making out like crazy in front of the Eiffel Tower at the park there, which you would never see here. So, and I think that sort of has warped people's brain around sexuality and expressing and dating.
But then also the kind of female mindset, and compared to the Western female mindset, like, I mean, it's not really like a country where women are. It's not really a patriarchy over here. In fact, there are some places in Indonesia where it's quite the opposite, actually.
I mean, there are matriarchal societies here.
In Indonesia.
Cultures, I mean.
Controlled by women. And one of the most powerful persons here in Indonesia is a woman. It's Megawati.
And even though, you know, it is, you know, you go to places, you will see anti-LGBT banners, anti-trans banners, but, you know, transgender culture has been here since the beginning. They're a big part of Indonesian tribal culture.
I guess this whole kind of recent anti-LGBTQ or whatever that is stuff is influenced by Saudi money. 100%.
Also, I think, like, women here women especially have to live a public life and a personal life that is very different. I think you can also say that from our friends, you know, maybe with us, they're very frank about their sexuality and with their stories and everything. But then as soon as they're in public, don't talk about it.
Absolutely not.
You know, they'll be like, oh shit, my cousin is there. Like,
Yeah.
he can't see me on this day.
Yeah.
And I remember, I forget who it was, but definitely somebody we know. I asked her, I was like, so why do you only like foreign men? And she's like, because they leave. I was like,
Because
so
they
she
leave.
wants to like
Yeah.
explore her
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sexuality and like
Yeah.
go
So
on
foreigners
dates and
are-
sleep around.
Foreigners are sort of like a hack, so to say.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
all right, this he's just a tourist, or he's
Yeah.
just here for 6 months, or
Yeah,
whatever. You know, he's an intern, and then he'll leave.
Yeah.
So they do want to explore this side of themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they're just not really allowed to.
Yeah, they can't do it with their
Over
own
here.
folks because there's so many strings attached.
Yeah.
Family and all that, and the
Yeah.
stories I've heard, like things get messy really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also with this sort of traditional culture where you have to marry very young, very early in your life, leads to this like weird thing where everyone's then when they're older cheating on each other because
Yeah.
they've never had this dating life. They're
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
allowed to express themselves and date and everything. So they
Yeah.
do that all later on in
Yeah,
life.
right.
You know?
That's kind of like that's a ironic sort of thing that plays out, like because you can't burn up all your special fuel in the beginning.
Yeah.
You still carry it around with you all your life, and then what you do then is you just start burning it up later on in your life.
Yeah.
Like there's so much cheating
Yeah.
going on here. This is
Yeah.
incredible, actually.
Yeah, I met this couple in a nightclub one time, and they were definitely on something. And they offered me some. I said no. But the longer I got talking to them, it's like, yeah, they got married very young. They never lived alone outside of their parents' house until they got married. So it was only then where they could really start living their own
Yeah.
life and expressing themselves. And here they were in their mid-30s, you know, they've got a few kids at home, but they're out partying on a Tuesday night, taking drugs and
Yeah.
looking for somebody to have a threesome with.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I mean, as soon as you're sort of ripped out of your social context or the level or sort of place or bubble you're in,
Yeah.
what happens is suddenly you see the light, right? And then
Yeah.
you start to think, okay, whatever my parents or my family told me is sort of bonkers, right? I can do so much more.
Yeah.
Right? So in a sense, like staying in your class, or no, class is the wrong word, or staying in your staying close to your roots, so to speak, especially here in Indonesia, is also a sort of insurance against these kind of things happening, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you open up your mind, as soon as you receive education, as soon as you start speaking it like a second language or third language, things very quickly get out of hand, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not just women; that's actually men as well.
Yeah, men too. And it's such a, I guess, family-based culture that they don't want anything reflecting badly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
there.
Face and reputation is very important.
I went to my parents once. They couldn't go to this thing at my sister's school, so I went instead to be like the family representative over there, and they had this talk, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a sex ed talk, but no, it was warning them, saying, don't have sex before a marriage, don't do this, and having all these awful stories about, see the like video of a girl, she had sex before marriage, look at her now, she's doing drugs and is homeless. That's not a healthy way to talk about this subject. Like, of course you have people with a strange relationship with pleasure and sex and dating if you teach them from the whole time. There's this one term he kept on using that I thought was so odd, was he kept using the term free sex.
Oh.
As in, that's sleeping around.
Okay.
As if sex was some sort of transaction, you know, that men want and women provide for us.
For something in return.
For something, like don't do it for free. Don't have free sex.
It's
like, what?
It's hilarious. Like if you think about it properly, then you realize that the hypocrisy is unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like there's no way around it. Like either you are open or you're not. But then most of them try to be both, right? And that doesn't work. That creates like hypocritical situations where you just make yourself like, or maybe even your parents look like fools, right? I
mean, this is what the 4th most populous country in the world. We must be pretty horny people here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's
and it is a sexual culture, you know. It look like there's
Even though-
dangdut music in the background, like there is dangdut dancing
Yeah.
is very sexual.
Dangdut, yeah. If you
Like-
go to YouTube and you search for dangdut and kampung and maybe sexy,
Yeah.
oh man, you get videos like you think,
And there's
well,
all
like,
these
what
like
is this?
underground dangdut
Yeah.
and jaipong nightclubs all
Yeah,
over
yeah,
in
right.
every city, and you go there and the dancing
and
is
they're like
crazy
they got like
and
hot
wild.
pants on, and the
Yeah.
Muslim imam is standing right next to it, and he's like putting even money in. It's so bizarre.
I mean that's why everybody flies to Bali once a year just to go
Yeah.
crazy for a month.
But
you know?
Bali is not really Indonesia, right?
I mean, it is like Indonesia's little playground. I
It's a
compare it to
playground,
so you've been to Christiania in Copenhagen?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so Christiania is this free city in the middle of Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Where basically
The government has no say, or
government and police have no say. I mean, they do check and control, but basically, you're allowed to do as much weed, marijuana there as possible. Then there's like marijuana stalls.
But as soon as
the
you
whole
leave
street.
the
It's
zone,
called like Green Street.
what
or
happens when
something.
you leave the zone and you're still stoned? What happens?
You better not be driving a car because the cops are waiting right outside. Like you're allowed to have some on you, because it is decriminalized over there.
So there's a ring of cops around them, just waiting or controlling everyone going.
If the cops come in, there's a guy ringing a bell. Everybody runs away. But I mean, it's a cool place, and I felt like, and they will say too, like they need this space just in their psyche because they're such a, controlled. Some people say cold people that they have at least this one wild space.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bali is Indonesia's Christiania.
Yeah.
There's this wild space where like you're allowed to drink and party and experiment.
But you're not allowed to do drugs.
No. But of course everybody there does.
But that's what Gili Trawangan is for.
Yeah.
So you have this tiny island
where everything is
Lombok.
allowed.
Yeah, where pretty much everything is allowed. Yeah, that's a very interesting, like especially the whole island aspect of Indonesia is the best. So if you like nature, if you like climbing up on mountains or diving, I have a diving license as well. I've done night diving as well. It's just incredible. Like you will never see in any other country, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I realized when I came back is like I really haven't traveled around Indonesia at all. I don't know much about this country when.
Yeah, as soon as you go further east or west, like I found, for example, Sulawesi, North Sulawesi, Medan.
Yeah.
It's so different.
And I've never
like
been.
a different country.
I've never ever been there.
Never.
Yeah.
You should go. Like Danau Toba, the biggest volcano
On Sumatra,
lake.
yeah.
It's fascinating when you see this lake, and you hear or you read about what happened 10,000 years ago when this thing exploded and reduced humankind to like a few thousand.
Yeah.
And it was that lake, or I mean, the lake is the leftover of what happened there before.
Yeah.
But that explosion kind of almost eliminated us, right? So it's also the reason why all humans are sort of genetically compatible now. It's because of that volcano.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No,
because
I've
all
never heard that.
those few left, they had to kind of like mingle in order to keep humankind going,
Yeah.
right? And it was all caused by this giant explosion off in Sumatra, and it was like years or decades of winter, and only a few survived that, like terrible condition. And we are the ancestors.
Yeah.
That's it's incredible. And then when you go to this lake and you see these local tribes, what are they called? The Batak people?
Yeah.
Batak tribes. It's so bizarre. It's
Yeah. So completely different.
it's very different.
And Bali is one of these things. They just have a completely different culture to the
yeah.
rest of Indonesia. Completely
It's
different.
not like every time in Bali, I feel like this is not.
Yeah.
You can certainly feel it's not Muslim.
Yeah.
It's Hindu. It feels almost like a bit like Thailand almost.
Yeah.
But then again, not at all. Like the people
Yeah.
there look very different.
It's very unique, and they've got a great sense of aesthetic and
Yeah.
art. When you go up to Ubud and that area.
But it's over in for my taste. I'd say Bali is a little bit not overcrowded, but overdeveloped.
Yeah, and this was something I'm really disappointed in.
Yeah.
Because I remember I had the same feeling in the 90s with Bali. It was getting crazy developed. They built that mall on the streets at Kuta, and I was like, what are they doing? It's just because, millions of tourists go there every single year, so there's a lot of money and people want in on the tourist industry. And then the Bali bombings in 2002, I think, yeah, was it 2002 or 2003?
Yeah, 2003.
2003
Yeah.
occurred, and everything died. Like
Yeah.
Bali, just nobody went to
Yeah,
Bali
yeah,
for
yeah.
a while, and that kind of calmed things down in the development. And I remember for the next few years, it was like, okay, Bali's kind of like getting its vibe back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything. It's not just this crazy, overgrown
Party place for
party
Australians.
place. And then, you know, then I go overseas, live overseas, then I come back, and all of a sudden it's the same thing. It's even worse now. It's like
Yeah.
so overdeveloped, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
All of a sudden, Canggu became a place before. Back then, Canggu didn't even exist. It was it was a village. It was a
It was a
little
paradise
area.
beach, and that's
Yeah.
it. And now it feels sort of fake.
Yeah, and now there's an intercontinental hotel
yeah,
opening
yeah.
up on the beach, you know,
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, it's definitely a place where you can see if growth, if there's little to no regulation or management or planning,
Yeah.
and you just let it grow naturally, it just turns into this sort of cancerous,
Yeah.
ugly
And
thing.
you go down to like Uluwatu and Pechatu,
Yeah.
which was supposed to be the next big resort, the next big rich villa neighborhood, and it's just like nothing. They kicked all the local people out,
Yeah.
bought off all the land, tried to build a giant resort down there, and they didn't even finish it.
Yeah, you have a lot of failed developments, not just in Bali, but over here in Java as well. You see
Oh, here
these
in Bandung, you know, all these like that apartment building nearby here.
giant
the
apartment
line.
buildings where you think like, what happened to this thing? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? This looks like it's been built for at least 50,000 people,
And
but then
there's not a
nothing.
single person there.
Yeah,
All of
yeah.
a sudden, it's like, no. It was never up to code. They never actually had permission to build that
Yeah,
apartment
yeah.
building.
Yeah, a lot of like this whole permission thing is also very interesting. Like you see in Bandung, there's a lot of like when you look at Google Maps, you would think, oh, this is a road,
Yeah.
and then you go there and there is a road, but the road is like so tiny, like you can barely
Yeah.
like two cars had to kind of squeeze
Yeah.
along in order to kind of get past each other. And it turns out that road was meant to be twice as wide, but
Oh, really?
someone in the government would sell like the left or right half to like as land
Yeah, yeah.
to make some extra money on the side.
Oh, that's crazy.
So, you know, and
Or they'll just like charge people this much. This is how much it costs. Give me that sort of funding, and then
I don't know exactly how.
they only use half of it, and the
Do you
other
know-
half they just.
Do you know
pocket.
there's the Sheraton Hotel, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then opposite the road that kind of goes in. Where
Yeah,
there's-
yeah, to Dago Pojok.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I used to live. Yeah.
So that road is meant to be twice as wide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then they just sold everything.
But on the left, like all the development on the left hand side is actually technically standing on the road,
Yeah.
but because you know how it goes, like oh yeah, whatever, you just buy
Just build there,
like an
right?
extra 50 square meters and you pay me whatever 5 million.
Yeah, yeah. Build a little shop for yourself.
Yeah,
or a little
exactly.
house.
Yeah, and you see there's a lot over here where just there's no regard, a complete disregard for rule of law, right?
Yeah.
Which is sad, but at the same time it creates opportunity, you know. But at
Yeah.
what cost, you know? Like you sort of diminish the quality of life in certain aspects.
Yeah.
Whereas overall, for someone like me, or you as well, quality of life is higher over here, right? Compared to
Yeah, yeah. There's a bit more, freedom to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, over here you can live with a helper or two.
Yeah, you've got help and everything, and you know,
Yeah.
every time I do take a Grab or a Go car, and they always ask me where I'm from. I say I'm Swiss. They're like, "Oh, must be great. Why aren't you there?" I'm like, "What do
Yeah.
you mean?" He's like, "Oh, the salary is so big there." I was like, "Well, do you know how much a cup of coffee
Yeah,
costs? You know how much
yeah,
a
yeah.
latte costs over there?"
No, I would reply, actually the salary is much better here. Here you get millions.
yeah. Here you get millions, and a cup
Yeah.
of coffee is only 20,000.
Exactly.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah, currency over here, like the way I spend money here is very different.
Yeah,
Like you get so used to these huge numbers that you don't mind spending $50, $100 or whatever. You just think that is a million or whatever. I have
Yeah, yeah.
millions. I have millions, so I
Yeah.
can spend a million. But in Europe, for some reason, when I go shopping, then I see a product that's like 10 euros versus the same thing that's 15 euros. Let's say a wine.
Yeah.
I'm stingy.
Yeah,
I will save these few euros, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so strange, like
Yeah.
how
Well,
numbers.
like here, I also like, you know, just like this morning, I was like, I don't really have much food at home, but I'm hungry. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll just go get it, even though it costs
Yeah.
quite a lot, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
to order food and have them deliver it to you.
Yeah.
Well, in Europe, I'd be like, nope, getting on my bike, getting
Yeah.
on my bicycle, gonna get some food, gonna do some shopping, come home.
Yeah. Well, services here are cheaper, right?
Yeah.
A lot cheaper. Like the human labor is next to nothing, and then you can like that kind of buys you some sort of comfort, right?
Yeah.
But then on the other side, you have the quality issue, right? Like you don't get the same, like you get what you pay for in a sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, so this is life in Indonesia, and what else?
What about your dating life, Ali? When
Oh, my
talk
dating
about
life.
your
I'm
dating
married.
life.
I'm a married man. I
Yeah.
have my daughter, my wife. I have my business, and I don't regret a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So you don't think you'll move back ever? Maybe
Well, this
retire?
is
or
a
something?
question that every expat sort of has to tackle at some point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I do believe that, for example, I have a daughter here, right? There's always the issue of education, where
Yeah.
the more, like, if you want to get the same level of education that you would get in Europe for free, you pay a lot over here.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands, tens of thousands. But then you would think, oh, okay, then maybe I just bring my daughter to Europe, and maybe I live there with her for like the time during the semester or whatever. But then it comes down, it's the same amount of money or even more you have to spend for rent
Yeah.
and food and life in Europe, which is expensive, right? So, and I'm pretty sure those international schools know this very well. They
Yeah.
know exactly how to price it in order to kind of keep the kids over here, right?
But do you want her to know German culture? Is that like a big deal for
And
you?
that would be the main aspect why, and language, of course, why I would send my daughter to Germany, or anyone with a foreign background would send their kids outside Indonesia. But that can also be done later on. It doesn't have to be when they're young.
Yeah.
Right?
But do you get culture shock when you go back to Germany?
Not anymore.
No?
No.
I still
it's-
get that sometimes.
You still get it. I mean, last year when I got back during the pandemic or the first wave, it's that short moment of like, oh yeah, being here, like there's no trash. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I remember like spending a year in Indonesia. It was 2013, and then after 1 year, I came back to Germany in December, and it was like we came from like hot temperature here,
Yeah.
and we arrived in Berlin, and it was like -4 or
Yeah.
5. And the door opens, so it, like inside the
Oh, the
airport,
day of the airport.
it's still you walk into this ice cold, and that was exactly the opposite sort of mind blow, like walking into this ice cold.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
And it was the same experience I had when I first came to Asia, to Bangkok, and I come out of the airport was like AC was like cold
Yeah.
and cool and fresh. And the door opens and you go out in Bangkok and it's just, whoa, you walk into this, I don't know, you can like, you have to cut through air. It's so
It's
thick
so
and
humid.
so thick, heavy and humid and hot. And I've never experienced this. And it was just, I still remember this moment, right? This
Yeah.
kind of moment of awe and surprised and being shocked actually, right? That was a true shock, and then also the culture shock, right? When you come here. But that was the same for my wife when she came to Germany the first time. Like when she, simply by observing my family, how they would interact with each other, how they would talk to
Yeah.
each other, which is so different to how they talk to each other over here.
Yeah.
She would start crying.
Really?
She would like go to another room. I would follow her and like, hey, what's going on? And she would sit there with tears in her eyes. And I'm like, what's going on? Are you homesick or anything? No, I just can't believe how your brother is talking to your mom.
Oh.
It's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, he's not disrespectful. This is just
It's
it's
another
just-
sort of level of intimacy. You're so
Yeah,
comfortable
yeah,
and
it's-
open with each other.
it's a form of openness.
Yeah.
Being a little bit
And
frank
comfort.
and rough on each other.
Yeah.
Right? And it took her a while to kind of get the vibe, you know. But now, I mean, now after 10 years, we go
Yeah.
or 9 years, we go to Germany, and for her, it's just whatever, you know. So you get used to it. Same for me, you know, or you're used to this kind of way of language, which, like, for example, you know, it took me years to realize that no does not mean no, or no, a yes does not mean yes.
Yeah.
It's like all these kind of like codes for confirming or denying or approving things are very different over here.
Yeah. You always have to follow up on those.
Are you finished with your job? Yes.
Yeah.
But yes means yes, I hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, but fuck off. Yeah. So that
Like,
was
get off my back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had this so many times, or like just taking anyone's word.
Yeah.
You know, like have you seen or do you know the way from here to there? Yeah. Just go there and then turn left or right, but.
Yeah. Like
Because
making
they don't
plans
wanna-
with people, it can be just difficult here.
Because I wouldn't say no, or they wouldn't say, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
They would just rather give you a random sort of
Yeah.
response, and then, or you go to a shop and you get this. Do you have this? Oh no, we don't have it, and it's literally hanging behind them
Yeah.
on the wall, and I'm like,
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have
Oh,
it.
that's-
It's like, I mean, you want to make money here, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have it? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. So this is also very interesting, right? Whereas in Europe they would bend over backwards to get you what you want, right?
Yeah.
So whereas here, oh yeah, whatever. But then when it comes to being agents, like being an agent in between, right? Like
Yeah.
let's say you need something or you want something, you have to go through an agent over here in
Yeah.
almost any case, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is a passport or a permission or a ticket. I mean, ticket now is all online. Like so many agents have been like cut dead now because of everything's online, which is great. You know,
Yeah.
I love how comfortably you can do things online now. I don't know how much how developed it is in the West right now, but here it's pretty easy now, right?
Yeah. It depends where as well.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. And
when I was in
well.
Paris and I like moved to a new apartment, they asked me to fax my new address, like proof of my new address, and I'm like, fax? I'm like,
From
what,
where?
like, I was like, I don't. Who has a fax machine?
Yeah.
I was like, everything's digital now. What do you mean? They were like, no, but we need a fax. I was like, this was what 2009 or 2010. They're asking me for a fax, and then at that time I was in Denmark over the summer with my girlfriend, and then we needed to fax something down to Paris. We're like we just went around town. We went to the library to find a fax machine. And
but
the
you were a 90s kid, right?
Yeah, and the librarians did not know how to use a fax machine. They're like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I've never used this before.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, fax is something I've never seen here at all, ever.
Now it's so
Like,
obsolete.
They completely skipped that.
Use it in France.
It was leapfrogged entirely over here, the whole fax thing. I remember my parents had a fax machine, but I've never seen anyone using something like that.
We had one here growing up. I mean, when my parents had their business here, you know, they were also dealing with a German firm.
Yeah.
Germans, and they would fax stuff to each other all the time.
That reminds me,
as a kid, it was so annoying because it would kick me off the internet. You know?
The word fax
the
word fax may actually mean something completely different over here. Like I remember coming here. It was like I think the first time I was here, I was somewhere in a kampung means land, like
village.
Village. Yeah. I was in a villagey place, and I see this small small shop, and it says internet.
Yeah.
And back then I didn't have like 3G or whatever, and I was like, oh maybe I can check my emails over here.
Yeah.
So I went in, and there was like food and tables and chairs, but there were no computers or whatever. And then I'm asking, where's the internet? and she didn't understand me, the lady. I was like, internet, Mao? And I knew the word Mao means do you want? I said, Mao. Okay. And then I'm sitting there waiting, and is she coming with the internet now? And then she came with the internet, and it was Indomie, Telur, and Cornet.
Oh, yeah.
It was like food.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. Of course, I paid her, right? I didn't want to be like, okay, good, right? I eat the meal. I was hungry actually as well.
The name of the
and then the name of the food was internet, and that was a funny moment. I will never forget, right? So these kind of abbreviations over here are sometimes.
Everything's an abbreviation.
It's
so confusing.
It's funny how they treat the language, right?
Yeah.
Like so many institutions or government offices or PKPBMLX, blah 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 blah, and it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then it's actually written underneath, and it's like, okay, I can never
It's like
remember
20
this.
words
Yeah.
and they put it together and everything. And I asked my brother, because when we were dealing with all the paperwork to open up the bar, and I was like, so what does this mean? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I just know it's for this and that. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it actually stands for.
Yeah.
He just knows the abbreviations.
Yeah,
He doesn't
exactly.
know what it actually stands for.
Yeah, that's also a very, very funny aspect. Like, I mean, assimilation of culture, right? You want to assimilate yourself into this place,
Yeah.
but not too deep. For example, I never really picked up the language.
Yeah.
Like, I was sort of, I wouldn't say refused it to learn. I mean, I understand it, but I sort of deliberately tried to keep myself oblivious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear all the gossip.
Yeah,
It's
that
it's a
goes
form
around.
of bliss.
Yeah. But I mean, even though like I can speak Bahasa pretty well and pretty
Yeah.
fluently, it's, colloquial language is completely different
Yeah.
than anything else.
Yeah.
Like the slang that people use is
Yeah.
completely different than whatever you learn. So I don't even know half the time what they're saying.
Yeah. One topic I wanted to, I mean, we've already wrapped up the whole women thing. Oh well, but maybe one thing I may want to add to this whole thing is like, if you want to marry someone over here, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, you wanna make sure you're compatible with the family, because very often you have this kind of baggage of family and
And
expectations.
family is very important.
Yeah,
here,
yeah. Much more important than over in the West.
And if you are
Yeah.
considered the most successful member of the family, you have to take care of the
you
rest.
have to take care.
Cousins, uncles.
They will open their hands very
Yeah.
politely.
Yeah, have
Okay.
to provide.
Feed us. Yeah, so this is something, but also religion, like you need to make sure this is kind of like in line with what the parents are expecting.
Yeah.
But if you're able to overcome all these funny hurdles, I call them, it's actually not really that different to in the West, right? I mean,
Yeah.
once you're kind of like live together, you survive day by day, month by month. It's pretty much the same like anywhere, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? You wanna make money, you wanna earn your money, you wanna have a job, you wanna have sort of
Like, nice and secure life.
nice and secure life, and you wanna stay healthy. This may be another aspect, being healthy over here. Like, do you think food is healthier over here, or?
I think you could have a very healthy life here. I mean, you have all that fruits and
You have the
vegetables.
fresh vegetables.
I mean, you've got
all the
fruits,
time.
the West has probably never even seen or
Yeah,
heard of.
Yeah. I've
know?
seen fruits I've never seen before.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're tasty.
And fruits that's really difficult to get elsewhere.
Yeah.
You can have dragon fruit here every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it every single day
Yeah.
when I'm here. I think you can lead a very, very healthy life here,
Yeah.
but it is a bit difficult. Like the deep frying everything, for example.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's street food culture.
Yeah.
They deep fry everything for
But
a
I
reason.
feel-
It's
I feel-
easy, it's cheap.
I feel like here in Indonesia it's extra oily.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
more fried than anywhere else. I mean,
Yeah.
you have oily food in China. I went to China, and they just soak everything in oil.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful, actually.
Yeah.
But over here, they soak it in oil and they cook it.
Yeah.
I mean, it kills the bacteria. It kind of makes it sort of safe, right?
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you clog up your arteries
Yeah.
over time, right?
I mean, there was I've had friends, visit, whether vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah.
And then I would always join them because I don't eat that much meat anyways.
Yeah.
And it was just like, when you say no meat, they'll still give you chicken.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that, or like
shrimp or whatever.
Yeah. I said like, I remember one time I like ordered chap chai. I was like, I don't want any meat in chap chai.
Yeah.
There was sausages and baso. I'm like,
Yeah.
why is there sausages and baso?
Yeah.
I was like, no, we took out the beef. But I was like, that's still meat technically. Or I had a friend here, and she had a very terrible nut allergy,
Oh.
and it was sometimes really hard for her to eat because you'd say like, oh, I can't have nuts, and then they just like still put it in there anyway. They just didn't understand that you don't want meat or you don't want nuts or anything like that. So you have the potential of probably having some of the healthiest food in the world here, but the style of cooking
Yeah.
that they do here and the way they eat, like if you don't want meat, they look at you as like, but how are you going to get full? Like,
Yeah.
my mom's reaction to me is always like, eat more meat, you're too skinny. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to eat more meat. Or like,
So, Hank, oh yeah, the final thing I wanted to touch upon on you was the hash.
oh, the hash.
Tell me about the hash. What is hash?
Did you talk about it with Sean?
Nope.
No. So the hash is a group of hiking enthusiasts. It's more of a social club, right?
Yeah.
So we meet every Saturday. We go on a hike ranging anywhere from 3 to 12 kilometers.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we
In the
have
jungle,
beer.
right?
Yeah, in the jungle, or it could be in the city. It could be anywhere. So each weekend or each Saturday, it's at a different location. And 2 people organize it every week at a different location. They take care of the food, the drinks. You know, they leave a trail of paper and chalk for you to
Yeah.
follow, sometimes with false trails and
Yeah.
little tricks to get you lost a little bit. But it's just a way of getting out of the city.
Yeah.
You know, experiencing a bit of nature and seeing parts of Bandung and the surrounding areas you usually never would.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, it's really the social aspect
Yeah,
that they
of
enjoy
course.
the most, because and then afterwards you drink a bunch of beers together and make fun of each other and make stupid jokes.
Yeah.
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 But
And you
I'm-
sing.
and you sing and make stupid jokes and make people drink. You know, you don't force people to drink. You can just
Yeah.
drink juice if you want to.
You punish them with
Yeah,
beer.
punish them with
Yeah.
beer and give them beers.
Worst punishment ever.
My dad has been part of the hash club since I can remember, and as a kid, I just thought it was like stupid. What are all these like old people doing, just drinking in the middle of a forest or a field
Yeah.
every single Saturday? I just
Yeah.
thought like, this is strange. This is weird. I didn't
Yeah.
really understand it.
So you remember
Yeah.
this from your childhood?
Yeah, I remember this clearly from my childhood.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
I been a few times, and there used to even be like a family hash on called the puppy hash that was
Yeah.
more family friendly.
Oh.
But when I first moved back, I didn't really have much of a friend group or a social group because everybody had left that I grew up with.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't that's part of an international school experience. Is as soon as you graduate, everybody just leaves and goes to their own country or somewhere else in the world. And I still had this sort of prejudice against the hash from my childhood.
All right.
And then I was like, one day I was like, you know what, Dad, I'll come with you, just as a way of like getting to know my dad and sort of spending quality time with him. But then I realized actually this isn't just a group of drunks and whatever, you know, it usually ends up that way.
Yeah.
But I realized that there's no other really community like this, especially in Bandung, because you can also be completely open in yourself, you
Yeah.
know, like you have foreigners, Indonesians, men, women, people as young as 15, as old as 75.
Yeah.
You know, they're openly gay, completely straight, really religious, or completely liberal. So everybody's sort of welcome to be there. And
Yeah.
I found this really welcoming and
Yeah.
fun and
Yeah.
great to have. And I think that's what a lot of people really enjoy about the hash and
Yeah.
find themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they say about it? It's a running club. No, it's a drinking club with
With a hiking problem.
a hiking problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it used to be overshadowed by the drinking, but I don't think so anymore.
It's not that extreme. I mean, I do remember times when I got home and I was actually drunk,
Yeah.
but that's in the recent years
Yeah.
it's gone down.
Well, I heard from some of the old timers that it used to be like you pay, I think that was like 100,000, 150,000, and it's you can drink as much as you want.
Yeah, yeah.
And that sort of attracted,
Special folks.
people who didn't care
Who would-
about the hiking or
yeah.
the communal aspect. They just treat it as a party.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
this
yeah.
is their Saturday night because you
Yeah.
can drink as much as you want. But then once they started charging per beer, those guys sort of
Yeah.
left the group,
Yeah.
and it became a little bit more welcoming and open to other people who really didn't like that aspect. of
Yeah,
the
I
group.
remember this transition actually. It did
Yeah.
it did make it did make a difference in
Yeah.
and also it attracts sort of like temporary like no, I wouldn't say expats, but like folks who would transition through Bandung.
Yeah.
Like temporary, like students who would like do an exchange here over here for like 6
Yeah.
months or 12 months.
Some people love it and really embrace it
Yeah.
and really become part of the
So you,
club.
so you have a nice churn of like fresh faces
yeah,
coming
yeah,
and going
all the time. And it's a great way to.
Yeah. Except for now, except for
Well,
pandemic.
now during the pandemic.
Yeah,
but
pandemic
but
is
you
bad.
made the point earlier about networking. Like you need to have a
Yeah.
network here, and it's
Yeah,
such a good way
Yeah,
have
exactly.
a network here.
Yeah, it's a starting point for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean the hash is for me. It's always been
Yeah.
great.
And even
great.
for Indonesians too, you know, one of the girls that is pretty new, maybe has gone in the last 6 months, but is there every Saturday now. She told me, she's like, this is like, I've always been looking for a place like this where I can just be myself. We
Yeah.
can be silly. We can be drunk. You
Yeah,
know, we
yeah.
can old and young, and everybody's just welcome, and we can just
Yeah.
be ourselves.
Yeah,
And-
it's a nice mix of locals
Yeah.
and international folks.
Yeah, and especially maybe if you do come from a rather conservative place or family, this is
yeah.
like a good place to sort of let loose a little bit.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, I love it. I mean, I've been doing it since 2013, and pretty much every time I went, it's just great. You know, it's like, I mean, you get used to it. It also gets sort of boring sometimes when you do the same sort of thing again. But then, on the other hand, what's the alternative? And also, it's healthy. Like you run through the forest,
Yeah.
or you walk through the forest. It's the healthiest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Like it's so, you feel.
Not just for the physical
Great.
aspect, but
Yeah.
you know, like
Or
you know,
mental as
yeah,
well,
mental
yeah.
as well. You know, like
I
they
like-
show like
I like running
you
alone.
need nature.
I like kind of distancing myself a little bit. Like I have.
Oh, I
some
do
of-
that all the time too.
Oh
yeah, yeah.
So I can like go into myself.
Yeah,
yeah. It has a meditative sort of momentum
Yeah.
or aspect, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of like about it.
And then you also never know who might show up, and then with the sort of social aspect, you meet new people.
Yeah.
Sure, blah, blah,
I recommend doing the hash in Bali. That's actually in Bali. Have you done this Bali hash?
No, but I haven't heard very positive things about
Oh,
it.
it's great.
Yeah?
I mean, there are a few downsides. It's a much bigger crowd and it's all a little bit more chaotic.
Yeah,
But
that's what I heard.
they do have good food.
Okay.
They prepare food, and
Yeah.
also some of the folks are like old school expats, like sort of semi-racist Australians
Yeah,
and Brits.
extremely
Yeah,
sexist.
but
and,
yeah, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
the old boomers.
Yeah.
But then, in terms of running and the actual like nature aspect, it's A plus.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really nice.
Yeah, from you know, there's a lot of people from Bandung that have
Yeah.
moved to Bali, and whenever I ask them about it, they miss the coziness and intimacy of our hash because we are a very small community,
That's
close knit
positive.
community.
Absolutely, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, Hank, I don't think we don't need to kind of drag this much longer. I think it was a great conversation.
Yeah, maybe in a year or two we can have a catch up.
We will do. We will definitely do a catch up
Podcast.
once I have like a million subscribers.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah,
Uh,
smash that like button.
Yeah.
You know, and then when they're curious, like, oh, whatever happened to that Henry guy?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Years on, did he ever get married and have kids?
Yeah. So by the way, Henry is available.
Oh yeah, kind of.
So yeah. Well, I mean that's gonna be a story for another time.
Yeah.
And
I want to get into those details. Right
yeah.
now.
No, let's leave that aside. And yeah, cool. Then I thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And,
Thanks for the whiskey.
yeah,
Let's have another one.
Yeah, let's have another one after the camera's off.
Yeah, please.
And I'll see you maybe next time
Yeah. Well,
in the future
yeah. Well, we'll probably hang out later tonight.
after the
Okay.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Cheers,
All right.
man.
Thanks, Ali.
Yeah, awesome.